Hey,
Welcome back to the Garden Report. All-Star break is over,
what's up, Bobby?
and we get a big bounce night. I saw Wob calling it the bounce night because of the rest after the All-Star break. And this
Mm-hmm.
was certainly it. Threes falling on both sides at rates I can't remember. Either team, or two teams matching each other tit for tat in a game with all those threes back and forth. Celtics end up finishing with 18. Pacers hit 22. So it's a ridiculous shooting night for both these teams. Both shoot 44% from three. Big charge, 15-point swing out of halftime led the Pacers back into the game after they trailed by 16 early. Had some chances to take leads late. They had the last shot. Halliburton fired up a three at the end of regulation. And then the Celtics end up taking it here in overtime. Jimmy Toscano
Thank you,
here.
dude. I was
The
wondering if you were going to
vacation
introduce me, or I had to introduce myself.
vacation continues for everybody else. We got Tim Ahmet here producing. I don't know, what's
John is on administrative leave.
it?
We'll call it that. We'll start some rumors.
Yeah,
John. Well, we think he'll be back. We're not entirely sure what's going on with him.
TBD.
Load management, as somebody in the comments say. Yeah, load management's for John. But
We don't know, so your guess is as good as ours.
yeah,
When he'll be
sabbatical.
back, where he is. But this game, Jimmy, where are you going first on this one?
Where am I going first? I don't know. I mean, this was a fun game. A lot of back and forth. I thought the Celtics had multiple opportunities to just sort of put their foot on the Pacers' throat, but you got to give Indy credit. They kept coming back. They've got shooters on this team, man. They've got a number of guys who can just fill it up. Obviously, Halliburton's one of them. Our old friend, who I think some of us are still wondering if the Celtics are going to trade for, Miles Turner. He's been in rumors for like a decade now, I think, to Boston. But he had a hell of a night from three. So Pacers did what they do, but the Celtics, on a night where Jason Tatum wasn't really super sharp, he did everything else he needed to do, creating second chance opportunities, going to the hoop, getting to the line, fired up tonight. I like the energy from the team. So this was a good first game back from the break. Sometimes you don't really know what you're going to get. They've been away. They've been on the beach. They've been at All Star Weekend.
Everyone looked fresh.
Yeah, they did look fresh. I mean, for the most part, I would say everyone looked
Sloppy,
fresh.
but fresh. Good shot
Sloppy. I
making.
mean,
Good
you had a couple of really bad turnovers at the end of the fourth quarter again. In a situation where could you have called the timeout? Sure. I mean, were they in transition? Yeah. So I'm not like as hung up on
Brown's
not calling a
flying up the
timeout.
court. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know why you would stop that play. He just made a bad
Right.
decision
Yeah,
passing
he
it.
was looking for Horford, and then Tatum, tried to go to the rim, and he was met clean play, and he tried to get out of it and turned it over. So a couple of bad turnovers, but the Celtics kept it going in overtime, and got a big win here. So I don't know.
One
I
of those
mean,
games. One
yeah,
of those games where
you had
they
some
met
help from some of
resistance
the
at
other
the
guys
rim.
too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
they
know you
met.
want to talk about Hauser at some point, who we thought all had a solid night tonight,
Yeah.
off the bench, 3-and-D guy. All of a sudden, 3 blocks, a couple of shots. So he's somebody that he's been hit or miss this year. No pun intended. But what? I wouldn't say I'm at the point where I'm quote unquote relying on him yet. But on a night like tonight, he shows that he can keep up on the defensive end. He's not a liability,
Three
certainly out
blocks.
there. Yeah, exactly. This is one of
The
those nights where you
chase
kind of,
down one a big play too. I think
yeah,
late in the third
on
quarter.
Neesmith. He got Neesmith on a chase down. And then I forget who we got on the block there. But, yeah, I mean, he made his presence felt. He had a good plus minus at one point. I don't know how that ended up. But I like the effort overall tonight. I thought, again, Rob started, but, I can't say that. Again, it was similar to past games where he starts, plays a relatively short amount of minutes, and then he kind of disappears for long stretches. So, still not quite sure where that's at yet. But other than that, I mean, you had a lot of good things to be happy about.
Yeah, Hauser +8 or +14 rather off the bench in 13 minutes. That's all you can ask of him. His turnaround over the last couple weeks here is a big story. They needed him to come around, especially where it looks like they're not going to be able to get a wing. in the buyout market, or one that's going to help them anyway. And no trade deadline addition there. They need him to be able to give them 13 minutes in a game like this, especially where this game took on a small ball theme. This game played to the Pacers' preference in terms of how the game was going to go, up and down,
Right.
lots of shooting, small ball. They took Rob off the court. Grant didn't play after halftime. Not much Derek White late in favor of Malcolm Brogdon, and the bigs take a hit tonight as well. I don't know. I'm interested to see. I saw someone saying in the chat, Mike Muscala, no minutes tonight.
Yeah, that was interesting.
He was dealing with an ankle thing before the break. He wasn't on the injury report, so I think that's just actually a coach's decision. Luke Kornet gets 4. Didn't go great. One of many moments in this game, TJ McConnell making fun of the Kornet contest.
That was tough. Yeah, you hate to see that.
Chippy night. This is the chippiest night I think we've seen in a Celtics game. You had Tatum and...
I'm not going to go that far. But
I think this season, is there a chippier game?
Well, they won't let you be chippy anymore. They won't let you be emotional. Real quick, though, Bobby, I don't want to forget this because these are very important sponsors to us. We want to remind everybody that this episode of the Garden Report is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/garden and get on your way to being your best self. We're going to get into those guys a little bit later, but I just want to make sure everybody is aware that this show is brought to you all by BetterHelp. So thank you very much to BetterHelp. And now back to Bobby's wrong point about this being the cheapest game. As our producer extraordinaire Amit reminds us, the Memphis game...
Yeah, you had a dust-up with Embiid, right? And then the Memphis game.
Yeah. I feel like everywhere Embiid goes, there's a dust-up, so I don't even know if that counts anymore. But certainly Memphis has been one of those teams, they're
Was that the night where Smart said I could have cracked his head open, but I decided not to?
Probably. But yeah,
I think that was opening night, yeah.
Smart and Halliburton.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Smart and Halliburton a little bit tonight. You know what, though, pisses me off? And I didn't want to bring this up so quickly, but you brought up emotion. The refs are doing everything they can to, prevent emotion now. And I know that they're probably getting it from the top, and I just can't freaking figure out why. Yeah. Because it's an emotional game, and we want these guys to show effort and be emotional out there on one hand, and then on the other, they breathe on somebody and it's a tech. You know what I mean? Or they show some level of emotion or animation and it's a tech. And you just gotta neuter these. You're neutering this entire league. You just want a bunch of robots to go out there and play basketball and not show any emotion and not show fire or effort or scream or they're humans. Emotion is part of the game, and it just sucks when they take it out of, they do stuff to take that out of the game, and especially when free throws end up being involved. The tech on Smart was horrific, and then
didn't like it. No.
Later on, the delay of game on Tatum was equally horrific.
You hated that one. That was your most emphatic tweet of the night.
Well, think about that, Bobby. He goes in for a hard layup. The ball lands in his hands, and he just a half a second. What's he supposed to do? Cower away from the ball as it lands on him? He grabs the ball.
He's in traffic. Yeah, ridiculous call.
And he even hands it to the other player. So
didn't like the late foul call on Horford either. I thought it's on the floor foul, so I think that's why it ended up being a foul. But a soft call, especially in a game like this. Celtics overcoming, and that's how I come away from this game feeling good because I know the Pacers are a good team. We've seen them healthy this year. They can give teams a run. Yeah. I don't like the defense throughout this one. Don't like the mistakes offensively that set up the Pacers to score as much as they did. But the Celtics work around it. Tatum works around a bad game and ends up with, 31, 12, and 7, some ridiculous stat line to end this one. Even on a bad shooting night, draws 11 free throws.
He kept at it,
Which is usually where he makes up for bad shooting nights this year. He does it again. And 4 turnovers is tough, but they work around it. And they worked around a lot of different things in this one. Rob didn't look great to me. They go smaller. You had Smart having some issues early in this game, I think, with ball control, and they sort of shifted toward Brogdon late and really throughout. And we should spend a minute on Brogdon at least because he's a huge reason they won this game. Just ginormous shot making throughout.
You don't have to tell me, man. I think you have to tell yourself.
Yeah.
I think you have to tell you. I think you have. If I knew how to work the graphics and get you on a solo, I would make you do Apology Cam right now. You're lucky that I don't. I need to work on that. Yeah, you should do it to yourself.
Yeah, I listen. I had my criticisms of certain parts of his game.
Like a week ago.
Yeah. But
He's
no,
leading the league in 3-point shooting.
I never said a word about his shot making. It's ridiculous what he does as a shot maker right now. He gets him through this game with 9 of 12, and he's on a real run right now. You talk about that. You talk about going back a week or two
Worst
now.
apology ever.
There's nothing to apologize for. I said.
Yes, Amit, clip. I wish I told Amit like 2 hours ago to clip your comments from like 3 games ago, because I would blast him up right now. I need that. That's
I'll
on
say
me.
him again.
I should have done that. I should have told Amit to do that.
I'll say it again. Defense, athleticism, finishing. I actually think he finished well in this one, so I guess I'll apologize for that. But it hasn't been the greatest finishing season to start.
Yeah, he has
to start the year for him. But shot making, we did this segment a week ago. Put him next to Tatum, just like when you put him next to Giannis early in his career. He's gonna hit near 50% of his threes off of those guys, and I love that sequence early or late rather, where you had Tatum, Smart running a little pick and roll. They swung the ball to the left side after Tatum repositioned, and Brogdon gets his wide open three. One of my favorite plays of the night.
Yeah, that was great. He was fired up after that.
Yeah, he fell into the fans in the crowd and got some beer on him.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Maybe that gave him a boost. I don't know if he took a shower after halftime. That's what the hard-working reporters got to figure out down there. But yeah, Brogdon, excellent, and a smile from him after that play. And as you said, he felt a little fired up after the three. He's got to be the sixth man of the year, as they're saying in the chat now, right? There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely top contender. I'd have to look around the league and see if there's anyone close. But this guy's coming off the bench regardless of who's been out this year, and he's their mainstay. He's a steady force. He's extremely reliable. Obviously, not just from the 3-point line, but he's not too high, not too low. I think he's just kind of like that steady hand and
he's consistent,
super consistent. 9 of 12 tonight. I mean, look at that. That's awesome. And we've said it throughout the course of the year. He's probably he's your third best scorer on this team. So
and he's playing like that now. He's getting aggressive. He's putting the ball up there. We got some odds in front of us that we won't get too deep into, but Brogdon is the favorite now over a group of guys. I mean, Russell Westbrook's not even on a team right now, or you just joined the Clippers. So if you put $1 on Russell Westbrook as the sixth man of the year, you just like to burn your money. Just give it to me instead. I'll give you double those, whatever the odds are. I'll give you double. How about that? But yeah, I mean, and again, we're not going to get too deep into the gambling aspect of it, but Brogdon's a heavy favorite right now to win that, and as he should be. I mean, he's consistently been coming off the bench for them effectively. He's had a huge effect on this team since he was traded over from his old Pacers team. So a little. This was his first game back in Indiana.
Yeah, a little revenge game back in Indy tonight. I'm sure he heard a couple of shouts from the stands. It's for various reasons, but. He's been great for them, and I think Indy's fine with the trade too. Aaron Nesmith is getting a real opportunity there, starting for them 34 minutes tonight. Not a great game by any stretch.
He had the late and one that Tatum threw back in bounds that pretty much handed him 3 points, but he had a huge 3-point look in the left wing that he missed. And he had the game he's kind of had throughout this year, so that really set the tone for the night. That early collision with Tatum, and I don't know how big of an impact that had on Tatum's 9 for 25. I know the broadcast kept showing it over and over again. I'm sure this was as much as just shaky game for Tatum as it was anything injury related, but he does fall on that left wrist, the wrist that's been bugging him all year. Really scary tumble there. He shoots right up and shakes it off. I saw him flexing it a little bit
landed right on
that play. So. But that's something to watch for sure, because he struggled after. For much of this game. Again, a weird night for him. He overcomes struggles from the field, but you have to wonder after a play like that so early in the game, what kind of impact it might have had on him.
Yeah, I mean, we're already concerned about the wrist, right? So certainly to land on it, going up, and you want him to stay aggressive. That's
not to mention 41 minutes right out of the All-Star break.
Well. Don't forget overtime too. So these games are going overtime. Tack on another 5 minutes to that. Your superstar players, MVP contenders, are going to be playing upper 30s every game or mid, in a close game. So they had however many days off that they had. I don't think any of these guys should be tired tonight or going into the game tonight. I think I saw in Portland they're already doing load management. Is that did I see that correctly?
No way.
Damian
I know the
Lillard's
Spurs
sat
are.
tonight.
You know the Spurs haven't won since late January?
Really? I didn't know that. That's really pathetic.
14 straight losses, and they might have lost tonight already. I have to take a look at that.
Wow.
They're down at half.
Pop on the hot seat, maybe?
He's going through the bill times.
Yeah, I know. How the mighty have fallen.
But yeah, Tatum, I'm not worried. It's just stuff we're watching with him. Minutes, the wrist, the ailments he's going through and has gone through. I'm just a little disappointed because I thought he was going to storm out of the All-Star break. You obviously saw bits and pieces of the All-Star game, Jimmy. Incredible.
Yeah,
no
I saw a bunch
defense,
of guys standing around.
No defense. You saw LeBron kind of flying out of his way on one of his dunks. And, you go back and watch. He's just sort of running ahead of everybody and playing a ton. So you understand why he got the numbers that he did. But he also hit, 8 of 12 or 10 of 18 from three, something ridiculous like that. So he shot great in that game. And unfortunately, again, in this one, the shot just isn't there. And that's been the story for a lot of the year with him. He struggled in the three-point shootout.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on with that jump shot for him and Jaylen Brown, frankly, this year. It's, the most I could gather is that they're just getting more attention, more coverage. And, Brown's 3 of 5 in this one. We'll get to him eventually. But, Tatum, he just struggled to put shots down in this one. And it wasn't just jump shots, a lot of misses around the rim here, too.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a sharp game by any stretch, but these are the types of games that we talk about with him where when he's not doing it from the shooting standpoint, he has to do it in other areas. So that's where you see the 12 rebounds come in, the 7 assists. We talked about a couple sloppy turnovers that he had in this one. But yeah, it wasn't a sharp game by any stretch, but it's you see it with superstar players. All of a sudden you look up and they've got 25, 30 points, and you're like, how did that happen? I haven't seen this guy hit a shot tonight. But they figure out ways to get it done. So, yeah, you're right. But I mean, I'm not even thinking twice about. I'm not even comparing the All-Star game to any organized game of basketball ever played. I mean, that was basically a shoot-around, right? I mean, that was essentially what that was. And you put any NBA player on the court without any defense going on, they're going to be able to go 10 of 14 from 3 or whatever it is. So, again, great that they were named All-Stars and that they were there and rah, all that stuff. But as far as the stats are concerned, it doesn't really mean anything to me. Obviously, this is, a game against another NBA team is much more indicative of where these players are. And like you said, Tatum's been struggling from 3 or from shooting in general. Jaylen Brown, we've seen it even worse, throughout the course of this season. So something to be concerned about to an extent for sure, because this team relies on the 3 heavily. This is a live by the 3, die by the 3 type of team. A guy like Brogdon is leading the league in threes, so he's making up for some of those misses from some of the other guys. Grant's not taking them as much anymore or as effective. Tatum Brown. Hauser obviously has come down off of where he started off the regular season. White's on the uptick. We're seeing a lot more production out of White, which is nice to see. So the guards are kind of, I think, whether it's, White, Brogdon, hopefully Smart can get into a bit of a groove here, but the guards are kind of carrying these guys at times. Certainly it's not the big guys, Rob, that's, holding up anything on the offensive end. And Al's Al. You kind of know what you're going to get from Al, I think, at this point.
Solid game from him. Early.
Yeah, he's a solid player. I mean, he did the best he could defending Halliburton and some of those.
For him to be able to survive in games like this at this point in his career is the story of how great he's been here. His switching ability.
And Hauser obviously has been shooting a lot better too, but there was that stretch where he wasn't. But
let's get to Jaylen. Second game back. John's not here, so we can talk about him. The mask in play. I thought he looked great. Big shots in this one.
You like the mask? The mask going to stay?
Over Neesmith. I like the mask. I like how it looks.
We need a nickname now, right? For masked Jaylen. So if people want to start thinking about those, by all means, go for it.
From the show that brought you the Boston Tea Party. Here we go again.
I'm gonna give the chat a chance to nickname masked Jaylen. So
There was some
they
MF
can
Doom
work on
things
that.
I saw that I liked. It actually kind of looked like that, the mask. But
Yeah.
I was wondering how it was going to impact him because he didn't shoot great in the All-Star game. He finished awesome around the rim, dunked a bunch, as you talked about, the way that game went, Jimmy. But tonight,
You could have
looked
dunked.
solid shooting. Missed a few early, got in a groove. Ended up being a really important part of this game, aside from the late turnover that was just such a brain fart.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like a Jaylen Brown game. It doesn't seem like the mask has much of an effect on him. He's not thinking about it. It's obviously not bothering him at all. His vision, I imagine his vision is just as clear or about as peripheral as it was prior to that, or else I'm sure he wouldn't, um, you know, want to wear it or wear something different. I don't know if the black has anything. Like I've seen players wear black. I've seen them wear clear. I would think clear would be better just in case something's blocking you, but I don't know. What do I know? I've never worn one. So, um, Rip Hamilton made a career wearing a mask like that. So, um, it it shouldn't affect his play at all. I'm glad that it wasn't a more serious injury and that he's able to play again. As soon as he was able to. So, 30 points. I mean, 11 from 24. Obviously, he'll take that any day. 3 of 5 from 3. Kind of a weird one because usually you see him take more, and 3 of 5 is kind of a good number to be at, I guess. 11 rebounds, 3 assists. So, and a plus 10. So yeah, really strong game from him tonight. He was aggressive, going hard to the rim. So yeah.
Yeah, nice 3 early in the fourth. Him and Mathurin were going back and forth a little bit before Mathurin and Tatum were kind of rolling around on the ground for that jump ball. Yeah, some really fun moments in this one, just in terms of the chippiness between these two. And this could be a first-round series. This Pacers team started so well. They're actually in the middle of the standings until Halliburton got hurt, and then they just went on a tailspin, like down to like 13th. And I'm gonna look at where they're sitting right now in the East. But now that they're healthy again, you see how Miles Turner's playing. You see what
They're
Benedict
12th.
Mathurin does for them off the bench. They're 12th, and they're 3 games back at 10. That's not great, and they have to leap the Bulls. So
By
it's
your
possible, and
Raptors.
then you gotta win that play-in tournament against the Wizards or the Raptors, and then the Hawks and the Heat. We'll get to the Hawks later. What
Wizards
happened
hanging
over there
around
during the
in that.
break.
Yeah, Wizards are kind of just there too. So.
But these are the teams we're juggling around, and every time I say it, Jimmy, the chat gets pissed. But I don't think you want to see the Raptors, the way they play. They got Jakob Poeltl now, big, long team, really athletic team around the rim, long arms. And listen, Jaylen Brown said as much when I was in Orlando last, that those kind of teams give them trouble. The Magic have.
Mm-hmm.
The Raptors have in 2 wins for the Celtics, albeit, but really tough games that went down the wire. And you know what? These Pacers have too, Jimmy. A couple of really gritty games between these teams this year. And tonight, the Indiana easily could have won. Like I said, Halliburton had that shot at the buzzer, got some good separation, a long 3, but one he's capable of making. He really thought he should have had that and won on a couple of late free throws in the fourth. And the Celtics can say the same with the turnovers there. But these teams that protect the rim well and have a guy like a Miles Turner that can keep Tatum and Brown away from the net better, they're able to give the Celtics a few issues here. It's just this shot making that the Celtics have, even on a 22 3-point night for the Pacers, is just so ridiculous that it's probably going to be able to overcome whatever kind of low seed advantage a team like the Pacers or Raptors or even the Magic, if they make a run here, will have.
Well, that's what it is. It's the 7-game series. So yeah, I mean, is it your favorite matchup? No, but are you concerned to the point where you'd be concerned that
I don't think any of these teams can beat them. Yeah.
Right. And the Pacers, yeah, I mean, there's some similarities to their style, right? I mean, they shoot a lot of threes. They have a more of a faster pace, right, than most teams do. So they can get hot and they can score. I mean, they put up 138 tonight, right? So clearly, scoring isn't the issue. But I think on the defensive side of things, what you saw
they really
tonight,
struggle. Yeah.
I mean, what did you see tonight? How many second chance opportunities did Boston have?
I mean, they don't rebound. I saw
Right.
it tonight. Coming in tonight, they were 29th in defensive rebounding rate.
Yeah,
They
so
just don't rebound.
They don't put an emphasis on it. They don't have the players that
They
are
play
gonna.
small, and they
Right.
they put shooters on the floor.
Right. They're at the 3-point line. So they're and on the defensive end, they just don't. I guess they just don't have the size. I mean, we've seen Tice here. We know what a lot of these guys' games look like on this Pacers team. Neesmith, Buddy Hield, Halliburton, and Turner's a guy that he's obviously a big guy, but it's he's in the league because of his offensive abilities, right? It's not because of he's a shot blocker. We'll obviously give him that as well, but it's just there's not enough.
I can't believe what he did from 3 tonight. I've never seen anything like that from him. And he's
career high, right?
Yeah, career high. Ridiculous. I think he started 6 of 7 from 3. He ends this one 8 of 10. I mean, that's something you expect Tatum and Brown to do, not Miles Turner. And we had many a show years ago about Miles Turner coming to the Celtics. Didn't happen. Many rumors over the years about him going to other teams, and he ultimately gets an extension. And he just gets a little better each year, frankly. And he's not young anymore, but he's still young enough where he's rising. And it's actually pretty cool that they've been able to keep him and see him reach this kind of level where he's really dominating this game at times. And he was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate a couple of years ago. Still brings that kind of shot blocking presence to the defensive side. And if he can pass a little bit, hit some threes, great piece for them going into the future. They have a lot of really good players there. That's what makes them so dangerous on any given night.
Yeah, it just feels like they're always a couple guys away, right? I mean,
yeah.
Obviously, Halliburton's a guy that they feel like they can build around.
They have one guy that has really top end talent, and he has to do everything for them.
Right. Yeah, and he's having a hell of a year too. But you see that in their record. They're 26 and 35, or 26 and 36 now, maybe, and they're not a threat to any sort of playoff run. At least not now. They're a couple guys away. So, anyways, that's talking the Pacers. I don't want to waste any more time on the Pacers. Do we even see them again, or is that it?
I think there's one more. Or is that it? I think there were a couple in Boston, and I think there's only one in Indiana.
Yeah. It's not that important, but
March 24th they play in Boston.
Okay, so
in a month you'll see these teams go at it again. Let's tell people a little bit more about BetterHelp again. I mentioned them at the top of the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to let people get a bite at Smart and Rob because they had some interesting nights. But first, BetterHelp.
Yeah, BetterHelp. As we told you guys, this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/garden and get on your way to being your best self. Guys, therapy is one of those things that a lot of people don't want to talk about or don't want to maybe admit that they need for whatever reason. But I'm here to tell you firsthand that it does work. It can pay dividends in the short term and especially in the long term. It can just help get your mind right. I think we can all agree that COVID over the last few years has done a lot of damage, not just physically but mentally to a lot of people. So there's a lot of people struggling out there, and maybe they just need somebody to talk to. And you don't even have to be in a bad place. You can actually be in a good place, and you just want to maybe just get a few things off your chest. You want to sort of get your mind right and get some perspective. So what BetterHelp does is it kind of lines you up with a therapist that works for you. What I would tell you guys is, if you're thinking about giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, it's flexible, it's affordable, it's entirely online, so you don't need to get in your car and drive somewhere. You don't need to meet face-to-face with anybody. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist, and you're on your way. It's really that simple. And I imagine there's tons of great therapists available on this app, but if you end up with in a situation where you're looking for somebody different, then certainly you can change therapists for no additional charge. And that's one of the hardest things sometimes is being able to find someone that's available and that you sort of vibe with, right? So BetterHelp does all that work for you. So if you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. So visit betterhelp.com/garden today. Get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/garden. You get 10% off your first month, and you'll get a phenomenal t-shirt.
Oh, as always.
As always. There's rumors of another t-shirt in the works, but these phenomenal...
It'll happen in time. It'll happen
Yeah,
in
these
time.
phenomenal T-shirts are the OG T-shirts, right? So these are going to actually be worth something someday. This is one of those T-shirts where you want to get and you want to wear it a couple times, but
Limited edition.
you might want to put it in that bottom drawer and pull it out in about 20 years and see what it's worth. So um, that's BetterHelp, guys. So appreciate you guys all your support, and like we said, put yourself first and don't be afraid to reach out to somebody. Marcus
So
Smart.
Marcus, the chat always loves him. I'm gonna give them a bite at his game here because it wasn't great. Recovered with a solid overtime. He had that late offensive rebound, and uh, yeah, ends up with an uneven second game back from the ankle injury. I'm still surprised he played that Detroit game before the break. I thought he'd give it a full break off, but he played well in that game. Had those 6 steals. Tonight a little shakier. Didn't shoot well. Made up for it with some plays in overtime. But the real story of the night was that you put the starting lineup from last year back together for only the second time this season, Jimmy. We're now 60 games in. This was just the second night you saw Smart, Brown, Tatum, Rob, and Al start together, and they shook it up throughout the flow of the game. Again, not a ton of Grant tonight. White plays a significant portion in the middle of the game for Rob. And I thought Brogdon actually took over for Smart late in the game offensively on the ball when it mattered. So Smart kind of gets stuck in the middle here, but the good thing about that is that he's sort of good at just having that night where he does all the little things and makes a few key passes or doesn't have to do too much on the ball when he's got a 5 turnover night like he did tonight.
Yeah, a little reckless with the turnovers tonight, but he ended up on Halliburton at the last possession of the game. Played good defense on him there. That was kind of a fun matchup to watch throughout the game. Maybe his emotions got a little too much. Maybe he was fired up about the sort of one-on-one battle, the game within the game, so to speak. But yeah, this wasn't a game that 1 of 5 from three, 5 of 11 from the field.
Came out swinging to start overtime though. He hit that leaner.
Yeah,
Drew 3 free
that's
throws and
his
then hit
game.
another 2 right after that.
Yeah, I
Yeah, that
mean,
kind of banging smaller guards in the post tonight. His game, yeah.
this is what you call the Marcus Smart effect type of a game, right? I mean, where he does everything and including some of the bad things. That's kind of what you get with him a little bit. So again, basically, I think there's a lot of situations, when he was away, where we saw the stagnant, the stagnant offense, right? Or the inability to sort of get certain guys going. What I'm really hoping is that Mark Smart can maybe get Rob going a little bit. It didn't happen tonight, but I think I think he's the last chance. Honestly, I don't think anyone else really notices him out there.
Did you see that miss on the baseline? A little one-handed hook that went right over the rim, and everyone, like Rob especially, but the whole team just kind of got deflated. And that's where the Celtics were at their worst tonight. Blowing a layup, trying to get back and defend, and the Pacers are running in the other direction, hitting a 3. It happened again and again throughout this one.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to jump to Rob right now, but certainly that was.
Might as well.
It's a cause for concern. I've brought it up on past shows. People are calling me like negative and a hater, but listen, it's got to be some level of a concern. I mean, he played 26 minutes tonight, so it's not like it was a 12-minute night and we're all scratching our heads as to why he didn't start or why he didn't play at all. It wasn't to that level, and he was a +5. So we're not going to sit here and say that he has no effect on the game. I think I'll speak for myself, what I'm maybe coming to terms with is that Rob Stonk is just not around.
Leveled out?
Yeah, Rob Stonk has dipped, and I kept buying the dip. I kept buying the dip because they keep saying buy the dip, and I don't think we've got that big rebound from the dip yet. So
don't buy the dip.
I'm not selling. I'm not selling low, but I am. I'm put it this way. I'm ranking him as a hold right now. He's not a buy. He's not a sell. He's a hold. I need to see a little bit more. I'm willing to give it more time, obviously. They need him, and they want to get him going. They're starting him, right? They're trying to get him, going early on. But if you watch him, yeah. But if you just watch him, just always away from the action, right? You just kind of watching.
Yeah, he doesn't do a ton offensively right now, and they're actually looking to get him a few shots close to the rim in this one. The one where Brogdon threw a go-ahead pass to him, he didn't have to face too much resistance inside, so he was able to put it right up and in. Yeah, an early dunk from Brown on a great pass. So they were looking for him in this one. It's just the matchup called for more Horford. This was a tough one with all the switching and three-point shooting on the perimeter. And, they need their own shooters as well out there. So he ends up on the bench. They go Tatum, Brown, Horford, Brogdon, Smart in the overtime. And, ends up with 26 minutes anyway in an overtime game, which is fine. I'm somewhere between, I guess, you and John, where the offensive line concerned me. I think I echo a lot of the things John talks about on that end, especially this season. But I'm still of the mind that if he's out there and he's right, he's going to be a positive. Just because it's so hard to score on.
But is he right? That's the whole thing.
It's hard to say.
I don't think he's right. If he is, if he's right,
they're never going to admit it.
If he's right, then what the hell's
26 minutes.
I know, but
he just doesn't look like himself, at least like he did last year, which is a product of a big injury and coming back from the surgeries he has. It's not panic time. Again, I thought this was going to be a lost season for Rob. I thought it would just be, he'd look like a shell of himself. It'd be ups and downs, setbacks. He's been back the whole time. He's had other injuries here or there, the ankle before the break. But he's had good games. He's making an impact, and he's in that starting lineup that I guess is a negative so far this year, and I think it probably will continue to be after tonight. So you have a question there, but when he's on the floor, it's hard to score on them. And I will open the conversation, Jimmy, because White's playing so well. I think you want to have your best players on the floor in your starting lineup, and then you could sort of stagger your bigs a little better there. I'm not closing the door on that discussion, even though I like double big. But I actually thought there was a chance that they would start White, given what he did into the All-Star break tonight. But Joe loves those numbers, and the numbers say when those five are together, it's really, really hard to score on this team, and they turn those stops into offense. Not the case tonight, though. That's not really how it went against this team.
Well, you did tweet, I think, before the game about White in the starting lineup compared to last year's.
They have a better offensive rating with White out there than they did last year with that Rob lineup that had a great offensive rating in its own right. They've done their historic things offensively this year when White's out there instead of Rob. That's really the way to put it. Are you a little worse defensively because you're smaller? Yeah. You're not getting the offensive rebounding that you're getting when Rob's out there, but I think there'll be a choice. Do you think they're dead set on double big? I think it's just where they are right now, and they're continuing to evaluate it. I mean, there was a lot of evaluation going on throughout this game in terms of who's going to play when. They played Tatum the whole first quarter. A little more White and Brogdon especially went 36 minutes. No Grant. Keep going back to that. Really weird rotation tweak there to not play him at all in the second half.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You get a little Hauser, 13 minutes there. Yeah, I mean, some people in the chat were saying, did Hauser overtake Grant? And, of course,
6 minutes for Grant. Okay, let's talk about Sam then. Well, we'll talk about them both because they're kind of...
They flipped.
One equals the other here, right? So, man, it really tells you the state of where Grant is, right? I mean, I guess he... Credit to him. He looked like he had a grand old time at the All-Star game. I mean, he was a spectator like everybody, like everybody else, but it doesn't seem like much is bothering him. Meanwhile, Hauser, takes some serious playing time and important minutes tonight. 3 from the field, hit his 2 threes. I mean, he's literally in the game for that reason. And we talked about the 3 blocks. I mean, that's unbelievable for a guy that some people thought was going to be a huge liability for them on the defensive end. It's just not the case. It's not that he's this defensive stopper or anything like that. He's never going to be in the conversation for all defense, but he doesn't have to be. If he's hitting 43 or whatever it is % from 3, and he can hang on the defensive end, and he's not getting picked on, and people aren't looking to get him in mismatches the whole time he's out there, then that's a win. That's a win for you. I mean, anybody would want a guy like that. So at that point, what's Grant's purpose? He's shooting better than Grant, right? I mean, Grant's bigger.
He's a better shooter than Grant.
Yeah. Grant's obviously bigger and more physical and can probably do a little bit more on the defensive end for sure. And we've seen Grant go up against guys like Giannis and do his best against them, Batman and all that stuff. But I don't know. I mean, there's something that's been wrong with Grant for a while now. And, somebody in the comments said something about Rob's confidence. I would say the same about Grant's confidence.
Yeah, and Grant keeps getting pushed into those weird in-between shots. That's what we saw before the break from him. Where
Well, they figured out a way to get him off the 3-point line, right?
Yeah, and they haven't done that to Sam. I think Sam moves better outside and off the ball than Grant does.
Totally.
So there's some trade-off there. I think offensively you're probably getting more from Hauser, and unquestionably you're getting more defensively from Grant.
But Hauser can find a shot.
Yeah, Hauser's been able to find his own defensive game too, which is so important. I mean, his growth on that end's been ginormous. We worried about whether he'd be able to survive a minute out there a year ago. And now he's blocking 3 shots in a game. So I don't think this is a big trend of where this is going. I think this is more of a
I haven't thought of that guy's name in a while. I don't know if you even know Matt Harper.
I don't know him, no.
I think he had great hair, if I recall. He kind of looked like he was kind of like a slick guy out there, but great shooter. Anyways.
Yeah, I wrote about the contract thing. We're gonna keep talking about the contract and how it impacts him going into the future. It's good to have a guy like Hauser in case something goes south there. So on nights like tonight where the matchups make sense, it could make some sense to start to look at what a world might be like if Grant moves on. I don't think it's one they want to imagine, but if it gets expensive enough, the Celtics.
I don't think
they want to lose Grant.
They don't want to.
It depends on the price. Like,
does it look like a team that does it look like they really care right now?
It depends. I think it depends. Like if they let him go for 14 a year, 15 a year, I know it seems a little high, especially for what he's doing recently. But wouldn't you be a little frustrated? That's what I'm saying. He's been struggling recently.
I wouldn't be frustrated.
So if they let him walk for 14, 15, you'll just be like, cool, whatever. I mean, they're in a championship run, Jimmy. He's still an important player.
To an extent, but I think he's expendable. He's not the reason they're going to win a championship, or he's not the reason they're going to lose a championship. Let's put it that way. He's a guy that can be replaced. I mean, they just found a guy in Sam Hauser off the street for peanuts, and he's already taking his minutes. So those guys exist. There's a lot of talent around the league, Bobby. All people need is an opportunity. So I think that, the number started at 20. The number started at 20, then it's slowly creeping down to 17, 15. Now you're saying 14. If we can get down to 10, I mean,
it's not going down to 10.
Well, I'm just saying, then, I mean, I don't know what it's going to, 12? I don't know what the number is, but I just don't know if there's anything that Grant does great. And now you're getting, again, once you get down to that 12 million number, 12 to 14, let's say, you don't really have to be great at anything. You just have to be a serviceable player in the league, which I think that's what he is. $20 million a year, you have to be great at something. Okay?
He's a great defender.
He's not a great defender. He's a plus defender.
He guarded Giannis and Durant in the playoffs last year.
If he was a great defender, he would be in the game getting 20 minutes a game minimum every single game. Facts.
Yeah, I mean, again, this was a matchup thing, I think. It was a smaller team.
But if you're a great defender,
you need offense.
If you're a great defender, Bobby, there shouldn't be matchups. You should be the matchup problem for the other guy. Okay? You go in the game, if you're a great defender, you should be able to play defense on whoever the hell gets switched on you. Or you're not a great defender. So you can't be both things. So again, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I think he's a good player. I think good players probably get somewhere between 12 and 14 or 10 and 14 million dollars a year now. Okay? And guess what? You can live pretty well on that money, so I don't feel bad saying that. I think 20 million, hey, great. You want 20 million, go for it.
But 20 million, I'm with you. I think
not
there's
gonna
a line in it, somewhere around 15.
Yeah, but
how many guys have they lost over the years, Jimmy, where you're like, man, that hurt? It wasn't a make or break loss, but whether it was Perk.
Couple. I mean, Tony Allen definitely stands out.
Tony Allen,
but Tony Allen was a great defender, one of the best in his era, literally. Okay, we're talking about, all defensive teams, defensive. You know what I mean? Like this guy could shut guys down. There was no matchup issues for Tony Allen. Posey was a guy at a different stage of his career, so that's a little bit different. Served a purpose for sure, but you understood why they let him go. With Grant, it just comes down to money, and I mean it makes no sense. Again, if they can get to the table and they can come to something a number that they're both comfortable at, then you think about it. But I don't think Grant's in a position of power right now. Clearly, he just hasn't had that type of a season, and I don't know if the fact that it is a final year of his contract, I don't know if that's played into it at all. I don't know if that's gotten to him, and if he's thinking.
I think it's a small part. He's trying to do different things that we haven't seen him do in the past, and they started off well. But recently, I mean, when he has to put the ball on the floor, good things aren't happening. And this is another reason why the offense, putting tonight aside and the ridiculous shooting, when the Celtics aren't shooting the ball great, we've seen this offense regress a little bit. And I think Grant's been part of that, different guys coming back down there. But don't forget, Hauser went 2 months. We were wondering if he was ever going to come back above the surface. He was underwater and not playing at all. So
less of
like
a history there.
Replacement.
No, certainly not. But these are the types of guys that sort of slide in and out of these roles, right? Yeah. We're talking about bench roles. Grant's not a starter, right?
Not right now. You hope he can be eventually, and that's another part of it. Is Horford's older, putting more pressure on him if Grant goes. You're putting more pressure on Rob to stay healthy. If Grant's out of here, like I still think. And I have
to give Grant credit. I mean, he's made huge strides from the first. What was it? First season or first 2 seasons?
Second year. Remember, he wasn't playing at all.
We thought that they weren't even gonna he wasn't even gonna be in the league anymore, right?
The whole chat was saying get him out of here. Yeah.
Right. So this isn't to say that he doesn't belong or anything like that. It's just that rarely do you go from a guy. I mean, it happens, but rarely do you go from a guy who might not be in the league to all of a sudden he's getting $20 million a year over $20 million, $80 million contract over 4 years. I just don't see that jump. And he was a great college player. It's not like it came out of nowhere that he can play basketball.
I can't wait to see why he only played 6 minutes tonight, by the way. That is interesting. Yeah. I hope Joe answered it. You think Joe answered it?
I highly doubt that he answered it.
I felt like people would like. That's probably how he answered it. All right. We got another great sponsor here. Tell them about Athletic Greens.
Yeah, Athletic Greens, of course. AG1. You guys know AG1 by now. So you head over at athleticgreens.com/garden. You get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D, 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. I'm a huge Athletic Greens guy. Bobby, I know you are. If you guys listen to any other types of podcasts, there's a reason why some of the smartest people swear by this stuff, and not because they're sponsored. I could list a couple guys. Andrew Huberman.
Look at the reviews. I mean, people reviewing it that have used it, Joe Schmo, they love it.
The Huberman podcast is all about it. I'm a huge Huberman guy. I would tell everyone to check out his podcast. Everything is science-based, and he's been on Athletic Greens for a decade, okay? So if it's good for him, it should be good enough for you guys. We already talked about it. 75 vitamins, minerals. What's my word, Bobby? Adaptogens. Prebiotics, probiotics, gut health. It's a quick little packet or just a quick scoop into the water. Shake it up, down the hatch you go, and off to go to start your day. So obviously we're big fans of it, and can't say anything more highly about Athletic Greens. So athleticgreens.com/garden. 1-year supply of vitamin D. Can't forget the vitamin D. That's important. 5 free travel packs. I order the travel packs because it's just easier. Toss them into your duffel bag in the morning if you're on the run. Keep them at work.
We're about to hit the road.
Yeah,
already second half. We got Philadelphia on Saturday, New York on Monday. So Joe Sway and I will be live from those spots.
You better have your AG1 with you. So
AG1 travel packs.
And like every other sponsor, guys, that comes with something that you can't get anywhere else, which is a what, Bobby? Phenomenal T-shirt. There you go. This goes with. I don't need to sell the Phenomenal T-shirt. You guys already know about the Phenomenal T-shirt. So that's Athletic Greens. You got anything else, Bob, or what? You got anything left on this game? I don't really have much on this game. That's for sure. What else? There was something else you wanted to talk about in the NBA, wasn't there? Oh, Atlanta.
Yeah. Nate McMillan got fired. I think we saw that coming. There was that weird incident.
It's been
earlier
weird
in the
over
year
there.
where-
It's just been really weird over there.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about potential 8-seed opponents. They're right in that mix. They've been the 7-8 seed, in that mix all year. Have the Celtics played them yet? I don't think they have they? I can't remember a game between those two. But anyway, McMillan fired.
Look who's chiming
Another
in.
coach gone.
This guy can.
Mark
This
Stein.
guy can. Look at this guy chiming in, John Zans. He's watching us from bed, I guess.
Yeah.
Are you posting, or is he hijacked the chat and posting himself, posting his own comments?
I think it might be what's going on, or it's Amit.
Yeah, it's Amit. Yeah. Listen, John. All right, John saying, yeah, he has nothing to add. Wow. John Zanis states that he has nothing to add. I've never heard that in my life. This guy's been adding to something.
No, he had something to add. He wants to talk about Grant.
Yeah.
He's ready to see him go just like you, Jimmy. There's no doubt about it.
It's not about
Is it the real John Zanis?
It's about being a realist. I think no one would want to pretend to be John Zanis. Let's be real.
We got John Zanis' pies in there. I think he's actually going back and forth with the pies.
If it's not John Zanis, it's John Zanis. It's whoever's in John Zanis'
It's
brain.
the real Jay-Z. He put the initials.
Yeah.
So you know it's real.
You know it's real. All right, John. If it's really you, then what did everybody sing for me on my birthday? Bobby, you want the Tatum sound?
Your authenticator. Yeah, I mean, so Mark Stein reported Ime Udoka was in play for Atlanta's job, and now it looks like they're going to go with Quinn Snyder. He looks like the front runner there, which is actually surprising. I thought Snyder was going to hold out for the San Antonio job whenever Pop moves on. We mentioned him earlier, but maybe that's not the best job in the world now. Would you rather have Young and Murray and John Collins and all those guys? I don't know, but Ime floating around. What's going on there, Jimmy? Like, he's in that Brooklyn job. Looks like he's the front runner for the Brooklyn job, and then they back out of it. And I don't know what happened here, how far along it got, whether they even talked to Ime, but Mark Stein, pretty good reporter, saying he was in the mix, and doesn't look like he's going to get hired there either. Are we going to see Ime again?
We'll see him again. I don't know. Is it like too soon? Dude. I know as much as anybody else does, or maybe even less, when it comes to what the hell happened with the Ime situation. I can't make heads or tails of it. All of a sudden, it appears to me that the Celtics must have come to some sort of agreement.
Yeah. By the way, while you were away, Joe Mazzulla became the head coach.
Right. No, I did hear that.
Yeah,
I did hear that. Thank you. And so it sounds like, behind the scenes, there must have been some sort of agreement so that they could make that announcement. And so Ime, I would imagine, is free to do and go and whatever he wants. He wasn't ever guilty of anything against the law, right? So everything.
And Adam Silver.
We don't know anything. So.
Adam Silver commented briefly on All-Star Weekend too, saying that. And keeping it pretty brief, saying that, they take that stuff seriously. Gary asked them if the league was involved there and some of the details that Adam kind of skipped right over. And he basically just said that the Celtics, he had no reason to think that the Celtics handled it improperly, which is a debate we had early on. And, Stephen A. continues to rail against them for how they handled it. And we've heard from Nia Long as well, wondering why the Celtics haven't called her. And again, it's just the stuff that's gone on behind the scenes that fortunately the Celtics have done a pretty good job of avoiding becoming a distraction at all costs. Though, Jason Tatum at All-Star Weekend did address Ime Udoka. We have some video of that from Utah.
It's been a tough situation for everybody involved. And it's somebody that, I've talked to throughout the season, just periodically just reaching out. Because without, whatever happened, and that's, doesn't have anything to do with me, but, I can't take away the relationship that me and him had and the impact that he had on me in that one season. I love Coach K, I love Brad, I love Joe, I love all those guys, but, just a different kind of relationship I had with Ime, and, probably like my most favorite coach I've had, and that's not a knock on anybody. I got a great relationship with Joe. I love everything he's doing. I'm extremely happy for him. Brad, kind of helped me navigate the NBA. I was 19, and he kind of helped watch me grow and put me in the right spots. So I have a different perspective and respect for each coach I've had. Just different times in my life.
I was surprised to hear that. Kind of unprompted,
what
saying
surprised
Ime
you?
was his favorite coach ever.
I'm not super surprised, I guess. I mean, I think we all saw how it ended with Brad, so by default, it wasn't, wasn't going to
we
be
had
Brad.
Ime ahead of Brad.
So it was either going to be Coach K or Ime, right? It's not going to be
Joe. I think, we all thought Joe was his guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They've, maybe I would find it hard that Missoula would pass Coach K that quickly. But listen, we all know the effect Ime had on these guys. He was tough love. He told it like it was. The players were a huge reason that Ime got the job. I mean, they basically were the reason that Ime got the job, right? So, of course, that there was some level of a connection between them. And don't forget, Tatum had a history with Ime for Team USA as well, if I'm correct there. So, he's been around him long enough and I'm not surprised to see that they kept the relationship going. It is what it is. I do think Ime will get another shot in this league. I mean, easily. When you look around the league, how many NBA coaches they're just going around the coaching carousel. I mean,
and
guys
you
have
can
been
tell
fired and hired and
him.
fired and hired. Yeah, and they will. I mean, it's most likely going to be in the offseason, right? I mean, when a number of coaches will get fired, as they always, and Ime will probably be a top candidate for a position that works for him. Now, Atlanta seems like they seem like a solid situation. They've got a couple of young stars over there. And,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Trae Young is he a tough guy?
A couple coaches blown
Is
out of
he
there,
a tough guy to coach? Right.
Yeah. Good coaches too. We know Nate McMillan's reputation. Lloyd Pierce had a pretty strong one before he got fired a couple years ago there.
Yeah.
And who's going to be next? Quinn Snyder's a weird one to me, especially the way he likes to run his systems, lots of three-point shooting, kind of heliocentric around one guy in Utah. They got two guys there now, two guards that you thought were going to mesh better than they have. And I don't know. It's just a weird team. They got two centers. They got three centers, really, who all need to play, and only one really can in a prime spot at a time next to Young. We know Young can't guard anybody, so he's getting targeted all the time. It's sort of like the Isaiah thing there, except a higher level talent than Isaiah was. He puts up monster numbers. You just wonder personality-wise whether he's really a frontline guy to run the team. And, yeah,
I freaking loved. I loved watching Trae Young play.
You used to be scared of this team, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't know anything about what he's like off the court or what type of a teammate he is. I know that he can.
They were in the East
hit
Finals
shots.
2 years ago.
Yeah, he's a fiery guy. He's emotional. He's fun. He's a small point guard. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the problem is, but obviously there's something going on over there. Ime is probably the right type of coach to go, get some guys in line, to be completely honest. But he want to go to a situation where the organization is just going to bow down to a guy like Trae Young, right? Because that seems to be what just happened here. I mean, they just fired their coach kind of out of the blue. I mean, not out of the blue completely, because there was that weird situation earlier this season, but it's just weird over there. So I don't know why Ime wasn't originally considered a favorite for it. I know that he was reported as sort of like a late option, at least on Twitter. I think Mark Stein reported that. Yeah. So I think you're going to see his name in just about every rumor that pops up around teams that are looking for head coaching, because we're never going to get a full response or full answer on what happened and why he was relieved of his duties or whatever. We're just not going to get it. We'll never know. It's nothing that's ever going to be in some sort of police report, right? So I think he's going to just end up on I bet you he'll be coaching the NBA to start next season. I don't know what team, but I would be really, really surprised if he isn't, because there's so many NBA coaches that have gotten second, third, fourth chances in the league, where a guy like Ime, who had a lot of success in his first year, has had success as an assistant. He has plenty of experience. A lot of star players know him too because of his time around the league. I imagine he'd be a great candidate for a lot of teams that will be looking. So
Yeah.
we shall see.
And it's interesting to watch, and he's obviously officially gone from Boston now, however that happened.
Yeah.
Shame it didn't work here. We're still getting to know Joe a little bit.
You wonder if a guy like Tatum or Brown will look to see where Ime ends up. And I wonder if that'll play a role.
Well, it was interesting. So Tatum said he's kept in touch with Ime. Brown said he did not. I don't know if that was it was in Gary's story from out at All-Star Weekend. I don't know if he said that at a presser or to Gary on the side, but Brown and Ime rather have apparently not been in touch. And I don't know, just like getting a vibe off last year, and I wasn't as close to the team as I am this year. It always felt like Ime and Brown were a little closer and kind of bond as the year went on, more than I thought Tatum, who got a lot of tough love from Ime at times.
Mm-hmm.
Those two were, and he certainly went after Brown at times too for turnovers or whatever else it was. I think everybody kind of got it from Ime at some point, but it's just a shame what happened there. It is, and obviously it falls on Ime. He did something that made it impossible for him to come back.
This guy's mad at me.
He ruined a great potential. He ruined a great situation for himself here.
Yeah, he did. He did. Whatever he did, he screwed up. So it is what it is, and there's no reason to keep talking about it. So, but what's going on in Atlanta? It's crazy how quickly things can change over there, right? Or just anywhere, because you're
2 years.
1 second you think you're a star, or you're a team on the up and up, and Trae Young, John Collins, Herter, all these guys, and then things all of a sudden start to fall off a little bit, and now you're looking for a coach in the middle of the season, which is never a good sign. So I think Celtics are in a good place right now. They've got a lot of players that have their heads on right. They seem to really like each other in the locker room. There's connectivity on and off the court, and the strong coaching staff. So there's a lot of reason.
They're finding ways.
Yeah, there's a lot of reason to be confident in this team, not just this year, but they're built. The core of this team is built for the next couple of seasons here.
So I was going to ask you, what did you think of them committing to Joe long term? Was it too soon? Did it have to happen?
It doesn't matter. It's a coach.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at all. I mean, he's probably still not making a lot of money. Coaches get hired, and it doesn't mean anything in terms of we're married. We have to keep this guy. It's not like he's on the salary cap, or they can't just fire him tomorrow if they wanted to. So I think he's deserving of getting the interim tag taken off, especially if it was definitely never going to happen with Ime again. I mean, it's obvious that he was going to be the head coach of this team then, right? So I think the only reason it took this long was just from some behind-the-scenes stuff that they needed to iron out. They did that, and they named Joe the head coach. He's, clearly doing something right. I mean, I know we have our qualms with some of the ways that he coaches in game. Certainly, I do. But he's earned the right. He's earned the right to lose the job, right? So.
Yeah.
They name him head coach, and now every day he goes out there and tries to prove them right for doing it.
And tonight, by the way, I saw some people commenting on it earlier. Timeout-wise, a little light again. On the light side. You picked it up a little bit before the break.
Yeah.
Calls one late in the first tonight. That ended up being the only one that quarter. Second quarter was a good one for them. So I understand there only being one there after a small Pacers run, and then third quarter is probably where you're looking and saying, like, all right, did this get a little too out of control? And he did call one early after that terrible start to the third. But most of the rest of the way, you just let them play. And you mentioned that transition play. I don't think a timeout's saving that one. We mentioned the Bucks one before the break. It was a little too late in that play to save it with a timeout. So, Yeah, the scrutiny
The
is always
Bucks
there on
one?
that.
What do you mean? The Bucks one was a huge mistake on his part by not calling a timeout. That's not even
He
debatable.
should have called one before, but what he was saying that he should have called one once things started to break down. I
Yeah.
don't know if that would have been feasible.
He should have called one when Derek White was struggling to pass it to anybody prior to him passing it to Grant Williams.
He should have called one to set up the play originally.
Oh yeah, but he had another opportunity. He had multiple opportunities to call timeout on that play, and he didn't. Now tonight it was different. They're out in transition off misses, trying to catch, Indy, trying to get
Off
back
guard,
on defense, and Jaylen Brown just kind of made a bad decision, bad pass. He wasn't on the same page as Al Horford. I don't know why he threw it 5 feet above Al Horford's head. That was his mistake. Now, what you'd like is for them to be a little bit more collected, and maybe that means a timeout should have been taken, a couple possessions before that, right? You have 2 timeouts. You don't have to save them all for the last 30 seconds, depending on if you need them. So I think these guys, especially in an that was before overtime, but in a game where guys are playing upper 30s or whatever it is minutes at that point, give them a little break. Get on the same page. Slow it down a little bit. Whatever it is you got to do.
I think
He's
when
still
it
not
matters,
doing it. He's still not doing it. I don't think this team is fundamentally sound enough to execute without any timeouts down the stretch. We've seen it a number of times. I would rather see a timeout. I don't care if that allows...
Well, they always look better out of timeouts. There's no doubt about it.
Well, then it should be an easy decision.
Yeah.
If you always look better out of timeouts and you're confident in your team's ability to score,
I think
then
they're
why
high
wouldn't you
up
call
there
a timeout?
too. I think they're high up there too on points per possession out of timeout. So they're drawing up some good plays out of those situations. We all remember the Tatum play early in the year against Cleveland that they drew up, and there's been others throughout the year that have put them in good positions late in games. So, again, give him time to grow on that. I think he's gotten a little better recently. Tonight wasn't another great night with that, but he called 5, including the challenge late. So that's probably kind of an average night for him in terms of total called. But they win this one. That's what you're looking for. And it wasn't the best night out of the break. I still think they're going to have to figure some stuff out here rotation-wise with the way Rob's playing, with the way Smart's playing too.
Our guy Missoula didn't even get any burn tonight. I wonder if that's injury related or what, because he seemed like a guy that...
Muscala.
What did I say, Missoula? Muscala, yeah. The Moose.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. I'm going to look for a... hopefully there's some quotes coming out of Indiana. I haven't seen any. You're not going to
get an answer. That's the frustrating part.
That's why we're not seeing any, right?
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, they've like you said, Bobby, they've got a few decisions that they have to make. Go over, look at the film. I mean, Grant played 6 minutes. Muscala didn't play any. Again, Rob looked effective at times, and he looked kind of out of the picture at times. So, and do you go small more? I mean, I don't know how many minutes. We didn't even talk about White that much tonight, but
he was good.
Yeah, he was White.
That's what we were talking about. He can't play enough now, which is too bad because he was on fire coming into the break.
25 minutes.
Now he's just not big enough. Now he's just not a big enough part of the offense anymore, which is
where they are. We're seeing it in the chat. We're seeing it in the chat. Smarter White now. Smart played 35 minutes. White played 25. But a lot of people who watched the game tonight would say White was the better player out there than Smart was. So
for tonight, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, for tonight, but and for the time that Marcus Smart was away, Derek White was better offensively than Smart is. So again, Smart's there for the defense and for the the intangible stuff that he brings. But if it's going to be sort of situational, there's going to be situations down the stretch maybe where you're going to have either both guys playing or you have to make a tough decision. I can't envision a situation where Marcus Smart isn't out there because of what he gives you on the defensive end.
But
how
Derek
White does it on both ends too.
On a bad night, we're always going to ask that question, and then Smart will be great for a couple weeks here. It's just how it is. He's under the microscope. White has his bad nights too.
For sure.
It's just tough. You wish, because I think White's at his best when he's emphasized, right? Smart can find his spots, so that's where
when Smart doesn't try to do too much, he's good for them. When he tries to do too much, that's when he gets into trouble.
But he's at his best with the ball in his hands too, making plays. So I think there'll be a case to start both of them eventually if this Rob thing keeps going where it does, and he needs to play limited minutes right through the playoffs. I'm not relenting on it yet because I still think there's this ceiling for this double big lineup there. If they can just start to play together enough and gel, they'll be able to do some amazing things with that group. But if Rob's not himself and they're not able to play enough together as a group, it doesn't even matter. So you might as well put your best 5 out there. And right now, I don't think there's any question Derek White's better than Rob.
No, there isn't. No question.
So if you're going to put your best 5 out there, Brogdon's part of this too, which makes it even tougher. But White should be out there, and we'll see where that goes. Rotations, I think the biggest story tonight, and what I'll be writing tonight as well, is rotations are really in flux now that the Celtics are fully healthy. No Muscala tonight. Grant plays 6 minutes. Hauser with a good 13. White goes back to the bench. Smart and Brogdon play a ton. And Horford closes late over Rob. And that's where we leave this. Some big games coming up.
8-man rotation tonight. Grant wasn't in it.
Yeah. Big games coming up. The East remains really tight at the top, and a team that's been chasing the Celtics hardest, the 76ers are the hottest team in the East since late January. Hosting the Celtics for the first time on Saturday. Joe Sway's going down tomorrow. I'll be in time for shoot-around on Saturday, so we'll have coverage of that on the ground. That's an 8:30 tip-off, by the way, a late game Saturday night special. That should be ESPN. And, those teams have played 2 kind of stinky games to start this year. I'm waiting for a really good game between these 2. Did you see tonight? I don't know if he actually played. Joel Embiid said something to the effect that he's going to have to rest some in the second half here because
I didn't see the game tonight, or I didn't see what transpired tonight. No.
So he played 38 minutes tonight, played well, 27 and 19 with 6 assists in the win. But Embiid's saying he hasn't felt healthy for weeks. Foot thing going on there. They've tried to manage it. He's missed games this year.
Oh, they had a fourth quarter comeback tonight, huh?
Yeah. So something to look out for. It's been a weird year with that foot for Embiid, and I don't remember if it's the one he carried early in his career, but foot things in general for these big guys, it's not going away. And he's never been healthy, at least in recent history, going into the playoffs. So for a team that looks like it's going to inevitably face off with the Celtics at some point in the playoffs, we'll see how healthy Embiid's going to be entering that playoff run, saying that he's going to need a rest down the stretch of the season. Will that include Saturday night's game? You hope not. And then Celtics.
He'll play. He likes going up against the Celtics, I think so.
But look at this run of games,
Home
Jimmy.
game,
Sixers.
Saturday night. You're not sitting in that game.
Big stretch for the Celtics here.
What do we got?
Sixers.
We'll finish the show off with this. What do you got for the coming down the stretch?
Sixers. Knicks on Monday. We'll have live coverage in New York of that one as well. They've been tough. Cavs, finally. We've waited months for a Cavs rematch. They're going to play the Cavs in Boston next week.
Wow, you're right. This is a stretch and a half here, huh?
Nets who have been tough. Knicks again, this time in TD Garden in a couple weeks. And then Cavs on the road. So those are your next 6 games. All playoff teams, all potential playoff previews.
Love that. Well, this is what it's all about. This is what we said to end the last game of the before the All-Star break. We said, the season starts when you come back from the break. That's when teams start to really gear up, and you start to really get to see the cream rise to the top here. So, starting to battling for position, cream of the crop. So. That's me and you tonight, Bob. The cream of the crop of CLNS. We were able to rise to the occasion and put a show together for the good people watching at home or at work or on the subway, wherever the hell you guys are tonight. Or
on demand. Go get that Garden Report
on demand,
podcast.
Maybe. Yep, podcast.
You can find that wherever podcasts are. Again, quick shout out to our sponsors. Yeah. BetterHelp.com/garden. Get 10% off your first month of therapy there. Find yourself a therapist that works for you right on your phone. And AG1, which I've struggled to find tonight.
Athleticgreens.com/garden for 5 free travel packs and a 1-year supply of vitamin D with your first purchase.
We love them.
Guys, get your first purchase. It doesn't have to be a subscription, although you will save money if you do. Give it a try and see what you think. And you'll feel better for it. You'll start to look better. You'll start to play better. You know, all of a sudden, like, you'll start to feel like you're the main character out there. That's what it's all about.
Yep, there you have it. Celtics beat the Pacers in overtime. Good win tonight, sloppy. Definitely some rust coming out of the break for the Celtics tonight. Maybe some issues long term that you look at and wonder, what's going to happen there. But they shoot hot enough and make some big plays late and grab enough offensive rebounds to beat a pretty pesky Pacers team that has a lot of good players. So I'm happy with this one. Any final thoughts, Jimmy, from you?
No final thoughts other than the hour and 15 that I've got all my thoughts out. So looking forward to the next few games. Bobby, I need to thank you for coming to see me last Friday at Hunter's. That was a pleasant surprise.
That was great. I know.
Appreciate that.
Kwani's got an event coming up there as well.
Awesome.
I think Black Women in Sports, her group is going to be heading down there on Monday. So go check that out before.
She didn't ask me to play for it. I'm gonna have to
go check that out before. They've seen you enough over there.
No, she didn't. I'm gonna have to talk to Kwani about that. I'll be back there tomorrow though. So if anyone is in Saudi tomorrow, Friday, start your weekend off right. See you at Hunter's.
I gotta say, one of the best burgers I've ever had. You told me the food was the real deal, and
the food is the real deal. The burger's legit. They have unbelievable gumbo. So if you're into that southern style cooking, give it a shot.
So Jimmy performing there tomorrow. What time?
5 to 8. So right out of work, a couple of post-work beers, get your weekend going, and set the vibes going in the right direction,
All right, that's our post-game show, and we'll see you Saturday night. Late
What's
show.
my favorite Italian dish? This guy's asked me 100 times tonight. What's my favorite Italian dish? Man, that's tough. Fettuccine Alfredo is something that I love, but I can only eat it once in a while because it's so heavy. But like
everything Italian's a little heavy.
A nice Alfredo sauce, if it's done right, can really hit. But I mean, I keep it simple. Something with like a Fra Diavolo sauce. I like a little kick to my sauce. I don't want to just eat a straight marinara. So like mussels Fra Diavolo is an unbelievable appetizer. That's a staple. But like you can't go wrong with a nice chicken parm too. It says carbonara, so that's
a good one. I had a really good one in Italy when I went.
Yeah, Italy's a good place to get Italian food, typically speaking. So that was a good move by you. Maybe John will join us next show. We know Josue's going to be on Sherrod. I don't know what he's up to. He's teaching, I think. Believe it or not, he does.
He was on vacation. Everyone's just coming back a little slow. I went away, Jimmy, for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Here I am, right on time.
Saw you on the gram. Looks like you were having a good time.
Yeah, I caught some warmth down south. So
there you go.
I'm ready to go. We're off to Philly. We'll see you Saturday night, 8:30 tip off. So we'll be on around 11ish, and we'll talk to you then. See ya.